Welcome inside another edition of the Stingray Scoop, everybody. I am your host, Stephen Ray, and we're actually doing something a little bit different on this edition of the Stingray Scoop. We are actually bringing you a interview. So without further ado, let's go on ahead and get started with the interview only on the Stingray Scoop. Welcome inside another edition of the Stingray Scoop, everybody. I am your host, Stephen Ray, and our next guest on this edition is the inventor of the GamerDiet, the high-performance nutritional diet that has changed many lives. No matter your schedule and what type of athlete you are, our next guest can help you with your diet and nutritional needs. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Casey Thomas. Casey, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that amazing introduction. I don't think I've ever been hyped up that much before.
Thank you, man. All right, so where are you from?
I'm naturally from Southern California. So I grew up, I was born here. I moved around a little bit, but now I am back and I'm a couple hours out of LA.
I got you. Well, tell everybody a little bit about what the GamerDiet is and how it's helped people.
Sure. So the GamerDiet is, there's no real one catch-all for it, but it is a way to think about nutrition in a little bit of a different light. So typically people think about nutrition to, enhance the way they look, right? Like aesthetics. I want to look better. I want six-pack abs, whatever. In the sports nutrition world, we will use nutrition strategically to enhance performance. So when I'm working with professional athletes, it's how do I improve my shooting accuracy? How do I do all these different kind of things? Um, for gamers and for esports athletes, it's a little bit different because we're trying to use nutrition to enhance mental performance. So really, we're looking at different strategies and food items and potentially supplementation protocols to enhance brain performance. And so it's good for a lot of people, but I have found that going from working in traditional sports, this is a natural sidestep. It's very close because there are some traditional sports that are very in the cognitive realm. So things like baseball, which is hand-eye coordination, reaction speed, these kind of variables. If you can improve that, you can improve baseball performance, and I've had a lot of success with it. And there was a natural transition between that and esports athletes, which is growing and becoming more popular. And I've been able to implement some strategies quite effectively with a lot of professional esports players as well.
Well, how did you get started with nutrition?
uh, I guess I've always been fascinated with nutrition. I consider myself a nutrition guinea pig. Um, any diet you can think of, I guarantee you I have tried it. 100%. Any supplement you can think of, I have tried it. And my doctors hate me because what I'll do is I'll give a 30-day trial run on any kind of dietary protocol. And I'll get blood work before and after. I have little journals where I'll keep notes on how my workouts are going, how my sleep is going, if my weight changes, how I feel, all this kind of stuff. And the part about nutrition that I really like is there's a very low barrier to entry.
Right.
If you are, a physicist, you have to buy like a particle accelerator or maybe fancy microscopes for biology or all this kind of stuff. And with nutrition, I can hear about a diet and I can just run down to the grocery store, spend a few bucks, and I can try out whatever I want to try out. So it's been really fun to me, and that's probably how I got started, was just being curious about my own body and seeing how different foods can influence it directly.
Well, you currently work as a performance dietitian, a writer, and instructor as well. How do you find time to do all of these things and run a successful business like the GamerDiet?
uh, it's tough, and
Right.
my wife is sometimes upset with me for sure. um, yeah, I don't know that I have a lot of spare time, but I try to be as efficient as possible. And I will say that I do implement, I'm far from perfect myself, but I do implement nutrition strategies, which I do believe have helped my own brain performance and helped me stay sane, to be just
Yes.
more efficient at the task that I am doing. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in my life, and I'm sure you can relate. It's
Yes.
staying busy, but you do what you can.
Yes. Well, how did you actually get started with the GamerDiet?
Yeah, and so I mean, I grew up. I definitely played my share of video games for sure.
Right.
I'm not very good at them, but I enjoyed them. Played a lot of the arcade games. Going down to the pizza parlor and playing Galaga or something like that. Um, and so I've always been fascinated by esports, but my first real serious excursion into the esports world was when I was doing my nutrition degree.
Hmm.
I had a professor who was developing an energy drink supplement, which is very popular amongst gamers. And so I did my research study, my thesis publication, in a professional team of esports players. And it was something that I had never really seen before was this link. And I didn't really at the time. There's still a stigma against esports, and I'll admit that I definitely had a little bit of a bias myself. Maybe it's not really a real sport kind of thing, but when you look at the numbers, you see more people tuning into their world championships than you see with the Stanley Cup, the Super Bowl, and all these ones combined. And it's kind of crazy how much people are tuning into these events. So I had that, and this gave me my first look at professional esports scene. And when you combine that with on the campuses that I've worked at, there's been, like local little esports clubs. And so they kind of reach out to me like, hey, we're looking for some nutrition advice. Can you just come speak to our club? And I fell in love with the community. I love what they're trying to do. And I think especially during COVID, it kind of, a lot of people turn their eyes towards esports more than traditional sports as they shut down. So that would be kind of how I got started in there. And I think one other missing piece, which I'll just briefly mention, is I've had a lot of success with um, implementing strategies that will improve the brain in traditional sports. And some esports teams have reached out to me because they know that I've done that. And it's a little bit of a gray area in traditional sports. The obvious stuff is banned, testosterone's banned because it makes you bigger, right? It makes you bigger, makes you stronger.
Yes.
So testosterone's banned, but there's not really a ban on something that can improve your reaction speed by
Hmm.
helping the brain. And so I've had success working with traditional athletes doing those kind of things. And the esports players saw that and were like, hey, this could help me too if I had improved reaction speed. Can you come
Yes.
talk to me? So that's kind of how it started.
Well, can you tell us, our audience, about your supplements, please?
Yeah. In general, I mean, taking just a quick little step back, I am definitely of belief that be food. You can
Right.
supplement a bad diet to much people's dismay.
Yes.
I wish I could, have a fried chicken and a six pack and some candy every single day and pop a multivitamin and call it good. But
Right.
unfortunately, that's not the epitome of health. So you will see a far, far, far greater return on your time and efforts if you just check some of those fundamental nutrition boxes. Like,
Yes.
are you drinking enough water? Have you seen a piece of broccoli in the last year? Those kind of things. um, but once you've taken care of all of that, then definitely supplements and different high level nutrition strategies can take you to kind of the next level. And
Right.
so there is, I've been working on my end to try and develop definitely a supplement product which will acutely enhance brain performance.
Yes.
And it's rather quite simple because when you look at the energy drinks and you look at the other products that are out there these days, they're loaded with so much junk that you're kind of paying for that you don't need to be paying for. Like 95% of what you're getting in these products is just caffeine, and then some other stuff that makes you feel better but isn't actually helping out performance. And so one of the ones that is a stack, they call it a stack, that I've been using with my clients for years and years and years, is just caffeine plus L-theanine. And it's very simple, very effective. I've been mixing it, in my underwear in my kitchen for years. So my clients, but one of my clients actually a year ago was like, "Why don't you just make this yourself?" And I said, that's a really smart thought. I wish I had thought of it, 10 years ago. And so that's something that I've been working. And we actually just got a recent flavor sample sent to me, so I'm pretty happy with it. It hasn't quite launched yet, but I'm very happy with the recent round of flavors, and so I'm hoping that I can get that product out to people pretty soon here.
Well, what sort of athletes and what athletes have you worked with so far?
Oh, pretty much everything you can think of. I'm working currently with a lot of people who are training for the Olympics. I've worked with professional teams and organizations. I was formerly the performance dietitian with UCLA Athletics, where I was overseeing essentially all of the teams there. So I have worked with almost every single kind of program that you can think of. I do have, just a small bias. I tend to like, team sports and more anaerobic sports. I am less interested in like track and field. Don't shoot me. Those kind of like endurance, like cycling and like, really long endurance events. I want to see some action. So I tend to like, kind of more competitive sports where you're going heads up,
So, like football,
so
basketball, that kind of thing.
yeah, so I do have a small preference for those. I've worked and focused a lot more of my efforts on those sports. I have worked with other athletes in other competitions and scenarios as well, but I do like the team sports setting a little bit more personally. I find it a little bit more engaging and fun.
Well, I know that you talked about earlier that we're all busy, and that we like to, grab food. Can you talk about the dangers that you've seen of fast food?
Yeah, so fast food is something that is, it's actually a formula.
Hmm.
You think it's not, but there are millions of dollars and teams of scientists on the back end of those fast food companies who are creating a formula, a product that will spike reward pathways in your brain and truly get you almost addicted. There's an addiction behind, some of our like soda products and fast food products and things like this.
Hmm.
They are literally chemically put together in such a way that it is enjoyable for you. And that helps their sales, and that's no problem at all. Like I have no issue with businesses doing that. Like they're trying to enhance their sales. I get it. But for the consumer, this is potentially an issue. And it's
Yes.
a big issue, and it's part of the reason why I believe there's a obesity problem in America is fast food, and we see that when America comes over to other countries and we implement fast food, they start having an obesity problem just like us, which is no surprise, right? Um, so you have these really smart guys who have put together these things that get you hooked on a truly chemical level in the brain. It's very pleasurable to eat these things. And then they've gone the extra mile to make it convenient, right? There's probably fast food on every single corner in any major city. And then
Yes.
they decided to cut the price. They slashed the price, right? And so now you have something that's quick, easy, cheap, and it tastes amazing. And my brain is telling me this is the best thing ever.
Hmm.
And so quite dangerous, just because now you're incentivized, truly incentivized to go pick out these foods. And as far
Yes.
as brain performance is concerned, what you see is that a lot of these like saturated fats, for example, they will occlude blood flow acutely, so even in the hours after, which is bad for all sorts of reasons. Your brain needs nutrients. If you're trying to exercise, it's very tough to exercise. I'm sure if you've ever tried, try eating like a KFC bucket and then going to run a marathon. It's probably not going to go well.
No.
But so we know it's not good for us, but we keep going back to it, right? Like I'm guilty. I have fast food every now and again, but it has some insidious damages that most people don't realize, because you don't really notice that it makes you feel bad right now, but 10 years from now, if you've been doing that every day, that's built up, and then it's too late.
Yes.
And you will see both acute and long-term cognitive impairments as a function of fast food consumption. So if we're speaking about that, and you also see acute and long-term physical impairments as well. And usually people also these days care a lot about aesthetics and looking good. And usually, eating a ton of fast food is not the surefire way to get, six-pack abs.
Exactly right. So, talk about how the cholesterol plays a factor in all this.
Yeah, cholesterol is interesting. So blood cholesterol is a problem. And I'm probably going to be, getting some hate comments for saying this, but this is true based on the science, is that dietary cholesterol, so what you eat, has no impact on your blood cholesterol. So to much people's, against what people tend to believe, people say, oh, I shouldn't eat eggs because it has a lot of cholesterol. Yes, it does have a lot of cholesterol, but you could eat a dozen eggs and it's going to have zero impact on your blood cholesterol. So dietary cholesterol, the cholesterol you eat from food, what it does is it gets broken down in your body before it becomes cholesterol inside in your blood. So your digestive system breaks down that cholesterol and it doesn't actually impact your blood at all. So I'm okay with that. And actually there's some data, which is kind of fascinating, which suggests that intake of dietary cholesterol, things like eating a lot of eggs, that actually helps out with hormone synthesis. And for guys, getting more testosterone, usually most guys want that. So eating eggs can help raise your hormone production and testosterone level, as well as other cholesterol foods. People who eat very low amounts of high cholesterol foods tend to have lower hormone production and less of things like testosterone.
Yes.
Now, blood cholesterol can be a problem. Okay, that is a way to get heart attack and stroke and all this kind of stuff. But how to raise your blood cholesterol is by intake of usually these processed fats and these unhealthy fats like fast food that will then go on to be synthesized into cholesterol in the body. So eating trans fats, eating saturated fats, overeating more than you should be, these kind of things will definitely lead to increases in blood cholesterol, which is a sure problem.
Yes. Well, I've got a little story to share with you, if that's okay.
Absolutely, go for it.
Because I think that you are going to be really intrigued by this. Okay, so I have always had a weight problem, and I was always eating the wrong foods. I was drinking the wrong sodas. I was doing the diet sodas. I was, eating all of the bad stuff. Okay, so back in January the 29th of 2019, I went to the doctor and I was diagnosed with gout at 31 years old. Okay, so my doctor said, Stephen, you saw what you were just on the scale at. You have got to lose weight. I am putting you on a 1,400 calorie a day low purine diet, meaning no more beef, no more pork, and no more shellfish, no more sodas, and no more sugars, chips, crackers, all that stuff. Okay, I am happy to say that in almost, let's say, it's been over 2 years now. I have lost 115 pounds with diet and exercise. And I would like to show you my before and after pictures.
Oh, please do. I love this. That's amazing, by the
No,
way.
no, no,
That's
no, no. Sorry, sorry, sorry. I put it on the wrong one. Give me just a second so I can make it bigger.
yeah. Let me check it out.
All right, come on. Okay, at my biggest, I was 368 pounds. And
Wow.
that transformation was done with diet and exercise.
That's not the same person.
No, sir. And I now let me tell you a little bit about how I did it. I walk a ton. Every day I wake up and between around 9 or 10:30, somewhere within that time frame, I walk anywhere from between 4 and 5 miles every single morning to walk.
Wow.
And it usually takes me about an hour and 20 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes to do it. And I have, since January the 29th of 2019, I have not had one bit of soda. Every single day, I do 2 cups of coffee, and then I do 90 to 100 ounces of water every day.
All right. Have you seen any gout come back?
Uh, During the time of me getting off and getting on the low purine diet, I
Yeah.
had 4 bouts of gout.
Hmm.
However, that was just me trying to figure out what causes my gout and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Because I like to call the gout. I like to call it the trial and error disease. Because what works for you and triggers you necessarily won't trigger me. So I tried to, figure out that trial and error of whatnot. But I need a little bit of advice from you because, now that I've lost about 120 pounds or close to that, I really don't want that much sagging skin. What
Hmm.
would you suggest that I do to avoid as much sagging skin as I can?
Yeah, that's a tough one because
Okay.
with the sagging skin, honestly, that is something that most people just have to deal with if you started
Okay.
out really big and you did that.
Okay.
The only things that are going to help, and it's going to be to a minor degree, this isn't going to be, a game changer, but, every little bit helps.
Hmm.
It's going to be twofold. One would be ensuring you're getting adequate micronutrients. So, are you eating enough vegetables?
Right.
It really is kind of what it comes down to. Are you eating enough fruits, vegetables, those kind of like healthy foods? Um, that will just help that while you're losing, the repair
Yes.
processes that are going on are going to be going on smooth and efficiently.
Right.
The second thing, which might help out a little bit too, is the collagen.
Okay.
Collagen has been shown to help out with a lot of skin issues, and sometimes there's a little bit of suggestive data that it might help out with
Okay.
like scar tissue and things like that.
Yes.
Uh, so I mean, you're probably the master at this point as far as gout and yourself
Yes.
because you trialed and error everything, right?
Right.
Um,
Yes.
but so the collagen is good. The micronutrients are good. There is also some other preliminary data with things like anti-inflammatories
Right.
and healthy sources of fat. So if you're talking things like avocado,
Right.
nuts and seeds, turmeric, pretty good stuff. Maybe even um,
What about weight training?
oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Uh, we're moving a little bit outside of the nutrition realm here, but
Okay.
things like sleep and exercise, those are two
Mhm.
things that'll definitely help out.
Right.
Because if you have lost a lot of weight, well, and you're worried about the saggy skin, if you can
Hmm.
fill out some of that skin with some extra,
Muscle.
muscle, right, that
Yes.
can kind of alleviate some of that sagging as well. So
Yes.
certainly, weight training, resistance training. I'm not a master; I can't design a program for you on that, but
Right.
getting a good quality one would definitely
Yes.
help out there. And
Yes.
sleep is probably more important than both diet and exercise. Is like if you're I like to tell my athletes and people I'm working with, if you're only sleeping 4 hours a night, I can put you on the best diet, the best exercise, but it's not going to count one bit.
Yes.
And I mean, you're staying adequately hydrated already. So,
Yes.
I think exercise would be the first thing, and then just like an overall general healthy diet. But you can maybe look to some of these other niche, nutrient dense packed foods, these healthy fats, these spices and herbs and vegetables and things like that.
Have you ever tried the low purine diet?
I did try it. I did it for a little bit, and
It's
it's not the funnest one, I'll say.
no, because you're so restricted on what you can and can't have, man.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, that's remarkable though, truly. Like what you did. What were you finding was some of your favorite like staple meals to get you through that?
Oh, like through the weight loss.
Yeah.
Let's see, chicken thighs on the grill. I love chicken
Mhm.
thighs, and
Yeah.
then any kind of fish.
Okay.
Basically, the fish that I was eating was catfish, tilapia, and salmon, and
Okay.
then everything else was a trigger for me. So I
Mhm.
would do different ways of trying the tilapia, the catfish, and the salmon.
Mm.
So, but
That's
um,
that's that's amazing.
But can you
Truly.
also talk a little bit about, how bad beef and pork is for you? Because, down here in the South, we love barbecue, but pork is not your best friend.
So one thing that I'll say is
Okay.
just so you know, half of my family is like from the boonies in
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
So when I go visit there, you guys know how to make mean barbecue.
Yes.
Um, have some of that, have some sweet tea. It's
Right.
nothing better. Like I get it.
Yes.
Um, but yes, there is definitely an issue with these very high calorie dense, and I don't have anything wrong with a piece of beef or a piece of pork per
Yes.
se, like
Right.
by itself. Like if you you raised a pig, you took it out, and you're having some slabs of the pork yourself. I'm okay with that. Where the
Yes.
problem comes is how you're preparing it, right? Most
Right.
of the time, it's like let's throw in a stick of butter, let's throw in a jar of barbecue sauce, let's throw in some cornbread on the side, let's throw in all these different coleslaw and
Right.
different things that we're adding to it. So the piece of beef itself, the piece of pork itself, like if you just have a boiled piece of beef, right? It doesn't sound very appetizing to you, but if you had a boiled piece of beef, boiled piece of pork, and that was it, you had no flavorings whatsoever. That is an incredibly nutritious piece of food right there.
Right.
A lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, a lot of protein. There's a lot of goodies in there.
Mm-hmm.
The processing of it is where we run into problems. And so, a recommendation for people who love barbecue is I like to tell people try to go for more of the dry rubs. And
Yes.
having some of those because it's usually the sauces that are doing you in. Um, if you're looking to, if you're going for the leaner cuts, then it starts not tasting as good.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Right. And
so
it's
you,
tough.
Yeah, it gets a lot tougher too.
Yes.
So you have a couple options. One is eat less of it,
Mm-hmm.
which is usually nobody's favorite option. Two is to maybe find some substitutes that can work in lieu of it. Like I said, like the dry rub in place of the full sauce and
Yes.
all that kind of stuff. But if you prepare it right, honestly, it's very nutritious. But
Yes.
the one thing about them that they do have is they do have a higher fat content, and that just means you're eating more calories. So if you compare a piece of chicken breast to a piece, a nice T-bone, even if you boil both of them, this one has way more calories than the chicken does. It just has
Yes.
a higher fat content. So right there, that tells you you have to be eating less of it. And in a day, if you're someone who's trying to lose weight, you don't have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of calories to play with. So 1,400 calories is what you said. You can't eat a whole lot of beef on that.
Right.
That's not going to give you enough wiggle room to feel satisfied and feel
Yes.
satiated. I would instead prefer, if you're just looking from a pure optimization standpoint, to pick leaner cuts because now you can eat a lot more of them. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of went in a few different directions there,
You're
but
fine.
those are my general thoughts on beef and pork.
Okay, well, I've got two questions left for you, but now one of them is about hydration. Because we are moving into the summer months, and especially down here in the South, a lot of people sweat, and we can get those, high humidity levels that get up, around 70%, 80%, 90% humidity. What is the best way to hydrate for someone that exercises or has to work outside, because there are a lot of studies that say plain water doesn't really hydrate you as well.
Yeah, and that's definitely accurate.
Okay.
Um, Especially in the South, right? You're dripping sweat all the time. If you're outside, you're definitely going to be losing more than just water. Sweat is more than just water. So water only is not a good method of repletion. Um, Now, here's where I like to start. Okay, so the baseline is take your weight. Let's say you weigh 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Divide that by 2. Okay, 100. So that's how many fluid ounces you should probably look to have as a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
So start there and say, okay, this is how much fluid I should have per day as a baseline. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add on whatever our sweat losses are, because you need to replenish those. So the way that I like to do this, and you only have to really do this once. It's going to be a little bit complicated, but it's less scary than it sounds. All you have to do is take like a sample hour. So let's say you have, you're a worker and you work outside. Take one sample hour. Okay. Weigh yourself before and after that one sample hour. That's all you got to do. And now, presumably, you've lost a little bit of weight because you've sweat out some stuff, and you figure out how much exactly you sweat out in that 1 hour. So let's
Yes.
say you sweat out 1 pound of fluid in 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
That's your sweat rate. Now you know exactly what your sweat rate is. It's 1 pound per hour. So now you know you have to drink at least 1 pound per hour in order to just maintain balance.
Right.
So you pair the baseline and then you pair the sweat rate, and now you have how much fluid you should be drinking. But now we need to talk about electrolytes, right? Electrolytes, and if you're very, very physically active, you might even be considering some kind of sports beverage,
Mm-hmm.
like a Gatorade, Powerade kind of situation. So the issue with those, they come with a lot of calories and no nutrients. So
Yes.
if you find that you are gaining weight or you are someone who is trying to lose weight, I would not opt for a sugar sweetened beverage.
Right.
As far as electrolytes are concerned, the typical recommendation, is like 2,300 milligrams per day or less for a regular person in America.
Yes.
If you're sweating this much, what I like to say, and if you don't have any pre-existing heart conditions or hypertension or anything like that, what I would recommend people do is just start being a little bit more generous with their salt. So to start the day, I like to recommend people pinch in some salt into like some of their water. Maybe they're just shaking a little bit extra salt onto their foods. It doesn't have to be too fancy. And sodium is the one that will be the biggest issue that you need to worry about from excessive sweating.
Mm-hmm.
If you do have hypertension or if you do have some of these other issues, then you have to be really, really careful and really mindful about adding any kind of excess salt. But for regular people, if you really want to be fancy, you can actually buy these sweat rate patches. And what it'll do is you can put it on you and it will tell you exactly what the composition of the sweat that you are sweating is. So you can see, hey, I'm losing this much sodium, this much magnesium, this much potassium, and that kind of stuff. And then you can know how much you have to replenish in a day.
Okay.
I do find that most people, though, are not sodium deficient. It seems like most foods, most fast foods, most other foods, they have high sodium content already. So in most people, I'm usually not actually worried about people running into sodium deficiency.
Yes.
The only people who run into sodium deficiency are the people who tend to be obsessive about their diet and are hyper clean and are just like avoiding all sodium because they heard it was bad. And then those people, you have to really be like, add in some salt, like make sure you're salting your foods, like make sure you're getting some sodium. But for most regular people, I would say don't even think about it. You probably don't need it. And if you feel like you do need it, then maybe you can pinch in some salt in like 1 or 2 of your beverages. And then we can call it good there. That's kind of where I would start.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And my last question for you is this. Okay. So we're going away from the nutrition and the diet. Okay.
Okay.
I am a huge, and I would also call myself a college football nerd. Do you
Okay.
follow college football? And if so, who is your favorite team?
I mean, so the politically correct answer is I used to work at UCLA, so I got to
Right.
say UCLA, right?
Yes.
Um, but I got a little soft spot for Alabama.
I got you.
Uh, I've won many fantasy league from some. Anyway, we're going to talk about some of that stuff. But what about you? Who's your favorite?
I like it. I'm a college. I'm a sports broadcaster, so I like everybody.
You like everybody? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you connect it.
I like the game. But
Okay.
real quick though, with it becoming 2021 and college football is 100 days away, how do you feel like UCLA is going to do this fall?
I'm very optimistic. I think that they've been making a lot of strides, right? Like kind of
Yes.
underwhelming performance in, if you look at the last decade or so, kind of
Yes.
underwhelming. And, I can say that.
Yeah.
But they've definitely I've been seeing what they've been doing on the inside and they've been making a lot of strides. And so the last few years, there were some non-player issues. We got some bad injuries at the start of the season that kind of dinged us and things like that.
Yes.
And I really do think we would have done a lot better
Hmm.
2 years ago and also last year. If all these things didn't happen. And so I think we're a little bit of a dark horse. I don't think we're competitive, which is a bad thing to say. I don't think we're going to be like competing in the final championship, but
Yes.
I do think we're making strides. We're getting better, and I'm excited to see where the program goes. I think in the future, I think within the next 5 years, you might be hearing some more about us.
Well, Casey, look, man, I'm going to pull you up full screen and I want you to tell everybody, since you were nice enough to join us, how they can get on your diet and how they can find you and reach out to you if they need your help.
Sure, absolutely. First off, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Yes.
But it's a sin in my industry, and I don't have any social media, so I'm working on that. I'm kind of old school, so if you do want to get in touch with me, you can just shoot me an email, which is caseythomasrd@gmail.com. And I have a LinkedIn, which is kind of outdated,
Yeah.
so you can find me there as well. And then I do have a website which just recently launched, which was the GamerDiet.gg. So that has a lot of nutrition information for mental performance outside of just simply um, gamer audience. I think it's applicable to a lot of people. And when I was working with some, very type A people who were just looking to boost their own efficiency at work, a lot of these concepts are the same. So I check it out. I think there's a lot of valuable stuff. There's a couple free ebooks. There's like hours and hours of podcast episodes of me just talking about different nutrition topics. And there's a bunch of free articles on there too. So check it out. If you have any questions or comments, like I said, just feel free to shoot me an email. And I pretty much respond to everybody. So check it out.
Thank you so much, Casey, for joining us today. And man, we will do it again soon, and especially if you got new products or new supplements that you like to promote, we are here to help you promote that, because we do know, and I especially know from experience, that obesity is a big problem in the United States. So, we're here to help you push your message and your stuff out to the public.
I really appreciate that. It's been a blast being on here. And if you guys ever need anything also, like I'm happy to help you guys out.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, thank you for your time, and go Bruins, man.
Oh, thank you so much. I love the show.
All right. Thank you. All right. Have a good day.
You too. Take care, Steve.
All right. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Stingray Scoop. Hope everybody enjoyed it. I will be back here next week, next Friday, to give you guys all of the latest news around the world of sports. And also, don't forget the Bama Standard next Tuesday night, right here only on the CTS on the Facebook page and the YouTube page. But from all of us here at the CTS, we hope you have a great rest of your Thursday, a great weekend, and as always, God bless. We'll see you right back here next week on the Stingray Scoop. But before then, Tuesday night on the Bama Standard.